You are listening to Apple Podcasts, #1 tech news podcast in the Philippines. Here's your host, Jeck of Jeck Talks Tech.
What's up, everyone? My name is Jeck, and welcome to yet another episode of Jeck Talks Tech. Whether you're listening to the podcast via Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your podcasts, thank you. I appreciate it very much. We are recording live from the studio apartment here in Lucena City. Episode 19, 5th of December. And oh boy, we are so back. So most of you may have noticed that I don't have an episode for the past couple of weeks. There are some of you who message me asking if I am on a season break, which I am not, because I'm not really sure how to break the episodes into season. That's one of the main dilemma of the podcast, is tech news never stops. So there's no season break. The podcast has been nominated at the PPD Awards in 2 categories: Best Male Podcaster of the Year and Best Achievement and Sound. And because there's no episode for the past couple of weeks, I myself wasn't able to promote it on my own show. The social media voting is already over last 30th of November, and I wasn't able to promote it here. But through the power of technology, we still made it. If I'm not mistaken, the last counting of votes, I am tied with Coach Franco of Coach Franco Says for second place in the Best Male Podcaster of the Year. Trailing us is Mr. Brycan Dayaw of The Young Leader with Brycan Dayaw. So, lodi ang mga yan. In addition, doon naman sa Best Achievement and Sound, we still made it on top. So, it's already a small win for the podcast, considering that, I'm not able to promote it on my own show. But, there are still people who voted. So, thank you. I appreciate it. So, the social media votes is 5% of the total score. The winners of the PPD Awards will be announced on the 13th of December. So it's a Sunday. Don't forget to watch the PPD Awards night, because the show is going to be awesome! Moreover, the podcast is also nominated for the top 25 indie podcast of 2020. And it was announced yesterday. We've made it. We are now officially part of the top 25 best independent podcast of 2020. Again, I cannot thank you enough for all the support that you've showed on the podcast, on the show. I really don't know what to say. I thank you. Salamat ng marami. And bombshells are not yet over. My God. So for the month of November, we are still
the reigning, defending, undisputed
Apple Podcasts' #1 tech news podcast in the Philippines.
So if my memory serves me right, it's 4 consecutive months. And the last and certainly not the least, there is one news that I cannot announce yet. Baka mausog, so knock on wood. Kinig ba? Oo, hindi kinig yung knock on wood. Lalagyan ko na lang ng sound effects. So you might be wondering why did I say it and then not spilling the tea, diba? Wala lang, huwag nyo nang pansinin. Anyway, meron akong isang bagay na hopefully you have noticed, and it is the new background music of our show. It is composed and produced by DJ Jennifer Lee. So links will be on the description and show notes below. She's very lovely. She gave me permission to use her music on my show. So if you have noticed, the 5-Minute Wednesday, the bed music there is already her composition. And right now, since I'm back, I have decided to change or switch the background music as well. So I might be, using the old music and the new music each and every episode. I'm not sure what to do with it yet. But the news is I've got permission to use the music by the own producer. That's one of the challenges for an online creator. It's very difficult to find a royalty-free music, or unless you have or someone who's a composer and they will give you permission to use their music, then that's good for you. But if you don't know any producer and you don't own a license to use a song and you don't have the royalty-free music, it is copyrighted. That's a challenge. And today's sponsor will solve that problem for you. Have a listen. Music definitely adds style to your content. I started using Epidemic Sound from the very beginning. Having to try and find a copyright-free music that's good? Wow, it's a nightmare. Having the ability to browse a library and find basically everything you want, that's the nicest thing, which makes it making content easier. You can find what you need, add it to your multitrack, export it, and you're done. Sign up to Epidemic Sound using the link on the description and get 1 month free trial. Alright, now that's out of the way, let's proceed to what you really came in for. Here are the top tech news of the week. NVIDIA's RTX 30 Ti reviews are out, and they are a 2080 Super for just $399. Now, retailers say that the RTX 3060 Ti launch stock is like 3080, 3090, and 3070 cards combined. And yet, they all agree that they'll be sold out in the first day of the launch. That comes out from a poll of 12 different retailers across the US, Canada, Europe, and Australia, conducted by the fine folks at Hardware Canucks. So Hardware Canucks, they are huge in YouTube, so check out them. The poll was done via Twitter. I'll make sure to post the tweet on the show notes below. Now, the team tweeted the results of its poll yesterday, and the announcement and reviews went live for the new mainstream Ampere GPU. If it hadn't been for all the rumors, leaks, it would have some complete surprise to most people. But after the announcements of the previous releases, the 3080, 3090, and 3070, most people or most enthusiasts already know that there is an upcoming budget-friendly RTX 3060 Ti. Most of the retailers Hardware Canucks contacted told them that they had initial stock levels of the card which matched what they had for all three of the previously RTX 30 series launches so far combined. Though some of them did not say that they only had stock at around the RTX 3070 levels. But still, it's a stockpile of GPUs. That still paints a picture of this GPU launch being in a better place than any other recent releases of the last few months. Sama nyo na dyan yung PS5. Most especially compared to the absolute disaster that AMD's own RX 6800 XT and RX 6800 release had been. Now, the reference cards barely even appeared at launch, and the subsequent release of a third-party versions were an absolute paper launch as well. Hindi na nakarating sa mga retailers. Well, the fact that there wasn't even stock to go to the reviewers for the board partners RX 6800 XT designs, it says a lot. Back to the RTX 3060 Ti, it's a great card, which means there are going to be a whole lot of demand for the cheapest Ampere in the stack, especially, for the price of $399. It offers gaming frame rates in advance of what the old, $699 card RTX 2080 Super. So it's $200 less, and it's being compared to that particular card. In addition, comparing it with the RTX 2060 Super, and it's another massive generation leap in performance from the Touring to Ampere. So, great card, high demand, and as much as there is apparently more stocks for the RTX 3060 Ti than there has been in any other 30 series launch, everyone's going to be sold out for the first hour. That's for sure. I even received an email from a third-party partner of NVIDIA. I immediately went to the website. I'm not gonna buy, but just to check. Hindi na umabot. Wala na yung buy button agad. So, yeah, it's the same story. Kasi if you're in the market for a new gaming PC this year or next year, the RTX 3060 Ti makes a lot of sense. It's budget friendly. Comparable siya sa price ng next generation of consoles like PS5 and Xbox Series X. Oh, it doesn't include yung CPU, yung board, and the whole shebang. But the point is, for $399, you'll have more performance than one of the top tier cards of last year's card, or is it last year or the previous generation's card, which is the 2080 Super. Now, if you're like me who's in the market for a new laptop, I suggest that you wait next year to buy a new gaming laptop, because NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3080, 3070 laptops are expected in January of 2021. Tinanggal ko na nga sa cart yung item na 2060 laptop because I'm expecting this new RTX 30 series cards in laptops next year, and yeah, we got the news about it. So last week, the tech site WCCF Tech claimed to share an exclusive peek at NVIDIA's mobile roadmap through the first quarter of 2021. The key points from the slides it has shared are that premium gaming laptops with RTX 3080 and RTX 3070 mobile GPUs are scheduled for January 2021. Some weeks later, but still in quarter number 1. We can still expect to see, the RTX 3060 powered laptops appear according to the reports. In the main slide published, you can see that NVIDIA will be replacing models that used to come packing with RTX 2080 Super, RTX 2070 Super, and some RTX 2070 GPUs with a range of offerings based around the RTX 3080 and RTX 2070. This action takes place in the, 1,299 to 1,999 segments. I am looking at the slide right now, and it shows here that for the sub $2,000 laptops, it will pack with an RTX 3080. And then on the 1,299 naman, it's a combination of 3070 and 3060. So watch out for the manufacturers who will have, a $1,300 laptop with an RTX 3070. There's a big chance that it will happen. In addition, yun naman sa sub $1,000 category or segment, it also includes the RTX 3060 and some GTX 1660 Ti. So, kaabang-abang ang mga next generation laptops na dadating sa 2021. So, between now and sometime in January, it is possible that, any sizable stocks of high-end gaming laptops will be significant price cuts to help them shift. Yung Black Friday sale or Cyber Monday, I personally didn't pay much attention to the laptops because I am actually expecting this 30 series mobile GPUs in laptops next year. So I'd rather wait than, to buy a previous generation GPU. Especially, laptops, napakahirap i-upgrade if there's any upgradability path. So, yeah. Just wait. Remove nyo na yung mga nasa cart nyo. Okay, let's proceed to the next news. So remember Apple when they have launched the M1 chips a couple of weeks ago? Technically, that's my last episode. Now, Qualcomm details the Snapdragon 888, their third gen 5G and Cortex X1 on a 5nm processor. So last week, Qualcomm's Tech Summit happened in digital form, representing the company's most important launch event of the year as it showcased the new flagship products that will appear on your next smartphone or your next ARM-powered laptops. Qualcomm announced the new Snapdragon 888 SoC and platform. The Snapdragon 888 is a big leap for Qualcomm, so much that they have veered off from their usual naming scheme increments this generation, and they even skipped the 87X series altogether. The 888 number is not there only for marketing purposes, as it represents fortune and luck in Chinese. But the new SoC has some substantial generational changes that sets it apart from the usual yearly improvements of the past. Featuring the first ever implementation of the Cortex X1 CPU core as its performance engine, new Cortex A78 cores for efficiency. They're saying that there's a massive plus 35% boost in GPU performance, a totally new IP redesigned from the ground up. So for triple camera ISPs, integration of the 5G modem, it's all manufactured on a new 5nm process node. The new Snapdragon 888 touches and updates almost every part of the SoC design and significant uplifts in the performance and capabilities. Okay, so most of the high-end mobiles or high-end smartphones nowadays has a triple camera setup. Even mid-range phones has, some triple camera setups. Now this Snapdragon 888, based on the reports and some YouTube videos that I've watched over the last couple of weeks, they said that it can take, if you have triple camera, it can take, multiple pictures at once and then make it in one new picture or image, and it will give you the best result, at least according to Qualcomm. It's called computational photography. In addition, the 5G modem was integrated into the SoC already. So it means it's cheaper to produce and it's a space saver. So instead of having a 5G modem outside of the processor, it's now baked in. So phone manufacturers can use that extra space, say for example, for a larger battery, which we would all highly appreciate. There's a rumor in some of the forums, tech forums or tech groups, that Apple M1 is the boost that Windows ecosystem needed. So diba, yung Apple nag-release ng M1 powered laptops and Mac Minis. It's an ARM chip. Now Windows, it's your turn. And with the recent test showing that putting Windows into Apple Silicon, Apple absolutely spanks the performance currently available on Qualcomm-made processors. Make sure to follow and subscribe to the podcast because I'm going to review the Apple M1 chip as soon as I get a hold of them. Possibly sa Power Mac Center. But, spoiler alert, it's awesome. Speaking of Apple, let's proceed to the next news. iPhone zero-click Wi-Fi exploit is one of the most breathtaking hacks ever. Earlier this year, Apple patched one of the most breathtaking iPhone vulnerabilities ever. The memory corruption bug in the iOS kernel that gave attackers remote access to the entire device over Wi-Fi, with no user interaction required at all. And the exploits were wormable, meaning radio proximity exploits could spread from one nearby device to another, once again, with no user interaction. This Wi-Fi packet of death, that's what they're claiming, Wi-Fi packet of death, was devised by Ian Beer, a researcher at Project Zero, Google's vulnerability research arm. In a 30,000-word post published last Tuesday afternoon, Beer described the vulnerability and the proof of concept exploit he spent 6 months developing single-handedly. Almost immediately, fellow security researchers took notice. Beer's attack worked by exploiting a buffer overflow bug in the driver for AWDL. AWDL, it's an Apple proprietary mesh networking protocol that makes things like AirDrop work. Now, because the drivers reside in the kernel, one of the most privileged parts in any operating system, the AWDL flaw had the potential for serious hacks. And because AWDL parses Wi-Fi packets, exploits can be transmitted over the air with no indication that anything is amiss. Beer developed several different exploits. The most advanced is the one that installs an implant that has full access to the user's personal data, including email, photos, messages, and passwords, and crypto keys stored in the keychain. The attack uses a laptop, a Raspberry Pi, and some off-the-shelf Wi-Fi adapters. It takes about 2 minutes to install the prototype implant, but according to Beer, with more work, a better written exploit could deliver a handful of seconds. Now, the exploit only works on devices that are within Wi-Fi range of the attacker. Beer said that Apple fixed the vulnerability before the launch of the COVID-19 contract tracing interfaces put into iOS 13.5 in May. The researcher said that he has no evidence the vulnerability was ever exploited in the wild, although he noted that at least one exploit seller was aware of the critical bug in May, 7 months before, today's disclosure. Apple figures show that the vast majority of iPhones and iPads are updated regularly. So if you're using an Apple device, make sure to update your devices to at least, after 13.5 to ensure that you will not be affected by this exploit. Well, the beauty and impressiveness of the hack is that it relies on a single bug to wirelessly access secrets locked away in what's arguably the world's most hardened and secure consumer device, Apple device. If a single person could do this all in 6 months, then just think what a better resourced hacking team is capable of. Nakakatakot kasi the exploit is being sent wirelessly. So again, make sure to regularly update your devices. Not necessarily Apple, but Android devices also receives security patches it is for these types of attacks or exploits. Speaking of Google, let's proceed to the next news. Pansin ko lang yung mga news for this week interconnected. Napaka-smooth ng transition. Charot. Google Pixel XE just leaked, but there's a catch. Now, this has been a good year for the Google Pixel lineup with the launch of Pixel 4a, Pixel 4a 5G, and Pixel 5. We've even heard rumors about a Pixel 5 Pro, which may or may not arrive next year, March specifically. But a new rumor has hit the web today, and it involves a totally new Pixel phone, a Pixel XE. The only trouble is we have some doubts as to whether this leak is legit or not. The first clue that this phone is coming is a screenshot discovered by Tom's Hardware showing the About menu of an Android phone settings. The phone is referred to as Google Pixel XE twice. Once under the device name at the top of the menu, and again as a model and hardware towards the bottom of the menu. While you can change a phone's name to whatever you like, the same can't be said about the model. The top left corner of the screenshot also seems to show that the device has 8 cores. So if it really is a Pixel XE, it's not likely to be an ultra cheap device that sits below, the Pixel 4a, the Google's phone lineup. The mystery device is also running Android 11, and only a handful of devices have access to that. All this assume that the image hasn't been altered in some way. Another set of images came from /leaks showing off a very blurry phone that is also reportedly called the Google Pixel XE. Crucially, though we don't actually see the model name of what version of Android it's running, only the name of the phone, which is Google Pixel XE. As previously mentioned, the name of the phone can be anything you like. Kahit pa Baby Yoda yan o Grogu, if you're so inclined. So the /leaks image proved absolutely nothing. And the fact that we can see the model number is a little bit suspicious. Interestingly, the font of the camera is in the center of the screen, while the recent slate of Pixel phones have their front cameras on the top left corner of the display. The close-up image seems to show Pixel launcher icons, but there's no camera in the sights, and I am a little bit skeptical about whether it's even the same phone or not. Now, as of this episode, we can't verify whether the images really came from and who's responsible for, uploading those pictures. So I can't really say with any certainty how trustworthy they are. Though there's a lot of reasons to doubt them, and even if the Pixel XE is real, I wouldn't put money on this being it. Not unless I see some of the convincing evidence. Alright, as a bonus news for this week, this goes out to all the cinephiles out there. Warner Brothers to debut entire 2021 film slate, including Dune and Matrix 4, both on HBO Max and in theaters. When Warner Brothers announced that the Wonder Woman 1984 would land on the streaming service HBO Max on Christmas, the same time it debuts in theaters, many expected it to be an isolated experiment in response to an unprecedented pandemic. Instead, the studio will deploy a similar release strategy for the next 12 months. In a surprising break from the industry standards, Warner Brothers' entire 2021 slate, now it's a list of 17 films that includes The Matrix 4, Dune remake, Lin-Manuel Miranda's musical adaptation of In the Heights, and The Sopranos prequel. Another one on the list is The Many Saints of Newark and The Suicide Squad. All of those will debut both on HBO Max and in theaters on their respective release dates. The shocking move to release movie day and date underscores the crisis facing movie theaters and the rising importance of streaming services in the wake of a global health crisis that's decimated the film exhibition community. Naman, if the movie will be released the same day, baka ang piliin na lang ng mga tao is manood sa mga streaming services nila instead of going out on theaters. However, there are still some people who would enjoy going into theaters because, let's admit it, there's a different experience if you're in a theater compared, if you're in a large TV at home. Warner Brothers 2021 release slate also includes, in no particular order, Denzel Washington's thriller The Little Things, biographical drama Judas and the Black Messiah, a remake of Tom and Jerry, Godzilla vs. Kong, the video game adaptation Mortal Kombat, Angelina Jolie's Those Who Wish Me Dead, The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, inaabangan ni Jare, Space Jam, A New Legacy, Triple OG, Reminiscence with Hugh Jackman, James Wan's Malignant, and the Will Smith's sports drama King Richard. If you wanted to see the entire slate, I'll make sure to put the link on the description down below. Okay, so that wraps up the top tech news of the week. Medyo na-miss ko tong part na to. With that said, there's nothing else left to do. Hit that like button if you like this type of content. Smash it if that's your something into 2020 style. Give us a follow. Subscribe if you aren't already. And I'll see you in the next one. Assuming that we all survive. Let's make the needy techie. Peace!